Hey everybody, welcome to tip number 24 in the series 101 Tips to Ace Your Promotional Exam. My name's Steve Prusbrowski, and I'm here to help you be the best that you can be, not just on your next promotional process, but more importantly, the position that you aspire to. So let's get going. As a reminder, my website, code3firetraining.com, has a lot of great free information on there to help you or anybody in the department, anybody around the country, regardless of ranks. A lot of good stuff. Check it out. This series, again, is based on my 101 Tips to Ace Your Promotional Exam that's been recently published by Fire Engineering Books and Videos, available off their website, as well as Code 3 Fire Training. Got a code, got a 25% off code at the bottom, hoping and assuming that's still available. If not, reach out if you have any problems, and I'll work with you to make sure that happens. All right, let's talk about tip 24. In the previous tip number 23, we talked about staying out of trouble. I know, easier said than done for some people. You all know those people probably on the job, off the job, friends, family, coworkers that just are like a shit magnet, for lack of a better term, of getting themselves in trouble all the time. I get it. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. We got to make mistakes because that's how we hopefully learn, by hopefully not making the same mistake twice. But staying out of trouble can obviously pay dividends for a number of reasons. Well, this sort of transitions to that next step in the bigger picture, trying to be positive, of striving to be a role model both on and off duty. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are quick to say, well, this shouldn't have anything to do with me getting promoted. This meaning my off-duty behavior, or even maybe my characteristics, my personal positive attributes, such as being a role model. Some people will stick to the old concept of I should get promoted based on maybe my seniority. Yeah, nothing personal, but 25 years on the job doesn't mean 25 years of experience. And just because you've had 25 years on the job and, quote, are a 25-year veteran, it doesn't mean you're the best candidate for the position. So seniority doesn't always equal quality. That's just my opinion. Don't shoot the messenger. And there's some that say, well, I did the best on the assessment center because maybe your department has a written examination or oral interview, fireground simulation, a full-blown assessment center to determine who the best candidates are. Again, best is a very relative and subjective term, nothing personal. I know some will argue that, well, test scoring and ranking is the best. Okay, true, but there is no perfect way. In all honesty, if you can find me the best of anything, and I'll shake your hand, because that's just almost impossible to do. But anyway, back to this tip here. Strive to be a role model both on and off duty. Why? If nothing else, it's the right thing to do. And number two, it may come into play because you think about it, you go into that promotional process, and more importantly, the process to be that position or that rank that you want. You can't just be a shithead, for lack of a better term, or slacker for the last 15, 20, 25 years, someone that's like an 8 to 8 out the gate person, that barely slid by 70.0% as a firefighter, sort of caused problems, previous tip. But for this one, you can't be that one that sort of slid through and then all of a sudden smokes the promotional exam, or maybe does well in the promotional process, comes out getting promoted and says, hey, forget about everything I did in the past. I'm now the whatever. I'm now the captain. I'm now the chief. People are not going to forget your past. Trust me. People are going to hold that against you. I mean, I remember a battalion chief years ago that when he was a firefighter, his reputation was not that stellar. As a battalion chief, as a firefighter, he was a slacker. He was the one that caused his captain's problems, always, jamming them up for holding him accountable. And then, of course, he becomes a captain, then a battalion chief, then has to hold people accountable. And, he comes by the firehouse and says, hey, get your butt out of the recliner. You've had enough time to nap, go out there and do some training. And unfortunately, a lot of people remember back to when he was a firefighter and say, hey, chief, you're a hypocrite. Remember back when you were a firefighter, you'd be sleeping all day long. And of course, his answer was, that was then, this is now. I'm, as he's pointing to his collar brass, I'm the chief now. And it was, well, maybe he wasn't saying it that way, but his past was catching up to him because he had basically zero trust in that sense, zero credibility, zero respect. So the minute you get on the job, and maybe you're too far past changing your past behavior for the better, I get it. But remember, all of us are not just leaders, but all of us are mentors. So as you, regardless of where you're at or what your rank is right now, you and I, we are mentors. So hopefully you're sharing this stuff with those new rookies that are getting on the job today of, hey, you're going to be here for the next 15, 20, 30, 40 years, maybe. Be a role model because it may catch up to you. So I'm going to share some scenarios here that, do a Google search on the internet or GTS, Google that shit or stuff, and you'll find on a daily basis people of all ranks, firefighters, captains, battalion chiefs, all the way up to fire chiefs, from volunteer departments, career departments, big city fire departments, rural America, small departments, doing stupid stuff on duty and off duty, and it comes back to bite them. And again, I know you may think it's unfair that it holds you back from a promotional exam. Well, the first thing to worry about is you may not even have a job depending on some of the stuff that you do, how bad and egregious it is. That's getting promoted is the least of your worry. Keeping your job is the big deal. But let's take a look at some of these scenarios. Now, in a good way, in a positive way, take a look at this. This was a LA County engine company. Now, if you understand LA County Fire, or you do some homework and research on them, local 1014, if I'm not mistaken, of the IAFF, this is not just one company. There's a lot of companies within the LA County Fire Department that take severe, serious pride in their apparatus, pride and ownership. They take that pride and ownership and they make sure their hose beds look like this. And you know what? I know there's some people that are quick to point out, God, that they must have no, all the time in the world. They must not run any calls. Um, I posted this on Twitter a few years ago, and I remember a lot of people were starting to bash them about, hey, if those guys got time for this, they got no time for fighting fire and blah, 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 and they should be really fighting fire, blah, blah. Well, the engineer for this apparatus actually got on Twitter and basically started slamming those naysayers and those negative Nancy's and negative, you know, negative people, and basically saying, hey, this is my engine company. It's basically South Central LA, Inglewood area. We run 15, 20 calls a day. We fight fire probably on a regular day. Yeah, we still have time to make our stuff look great. We take the time, the pride, the ownership in our apparatus. Now, you don't have to be slow or busy. Now, I'll look at this and say, you know what, if I saw a hose bed like that, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that, number one, those compartments, the tools and equipment within are just dialed in and maintained and cleaned. And I'll also give credit to that crew, and give them the benefit of the doubt that they're dialed in and trained and ready to hit anything. Now, again, I know there's some people that look at this and go, that has nothing to do with performance or true firefighting. Okay, I get it, but why not take some pride and ownership in your rig? Because if this is how you walk the walk and talk the talk as a leader, whether you're a firefighter, the engineer, or the captain, give me this crew any single day of the week. I bet they're not going to cause problems. I bet they're not going to get in trouble. And I bet they're going to represent the department, the fire service, in the most possible professional way. Give me them any day. And you know what? I bet they'll take great care of the customers when Mr. Smith calls. So you know what? Be a good role model on or off duty. And I remember I was guilty of this when I was a captain. I probably sometimes bowed into peer pressure. And I remember as a captain one time where it was middle of the night. We reloaded hose after fighting fire because we had dropped a bunch of 5-inch supply line. And I remember we were reloading it, and I was over doing something else. And when I came back to the rig, the hose was all cattywampus and it was all looking all pretty funkadelic. And it was like, and I'm thinking to myself in my gut, do I say something? Do I not? Because I remember saying something in years past and going, hey guys, you know what? Hey, let's reload it and let's do it right. And let's start here. I'll start, and I remember crews, come on, Steve, you forgot where you came from. Come on, we want to get back to quarters. Come on, Steve, we're missing our valuable sleep. And I bowed to peer pressure. And then, I remember the next day looking at that rig at the firehouse as we're getting off duty, and it's hose all messed up. And I remember the crew that was coming on duty, we were passing on information saying, hey, yeah, we had a fire last night. And I remember one of the firefighters looking at the hose bed, basically going, well, glad you guys put a lot of fucking time and effort into, making it look good. And I remember that crew the next day, first thing they did was they or unloaded the crappy hose load that we did, and did it right. And you know what? And I remember when I got back on duty the next shift, my firefighter was basically laughing at them, being, well, look at those guys. They wasted like an hour of their day doing the work. They should just let it be, and I'm thinking to myself, there's mediocrity at its best. There's a guy that settles for mediocrity, and I let him do it. And you know what? I'm just as guilty. And I'm like, you know what? I'll never do that again. And you know what? That's what I tried to strive for. I was never perfect. I'm still am never perfect. I make mistakes, but striving for mediocrity, striving for just bare minimum, That's not what we're better than that. Let's be better than that. But anyway, be a role model, do the right thing. Now let's look at some other scenarios quickly here as we look through this. Here is one of the many things that make social media, veteran fire captain arrested after off-duty dare from his girlfriend to walk naked into 7-Eleven. Yeah, he's placed on leave after getting arrested. First of all, nothing personal, but if your girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, friend, husband, whoever dares you to do something like this, that number one, is probably not the right thing to do for a normal human being, not to mention someone that's wearing a badge every day and wearing the uniform. If you don't have the wherewithal to understand that, this probably isn't the best thing to do, then we've got bigger issues. And you see stuff like this. The guy walks in naked, gets arrested, and of course, I bet you when he got arrested, what do you probably think the first thing he did when the police officers pulled him over? Hey, I'm a firefighter, and you hear stories like that. And what are you expecting? Professional courtesy? That might have worked 20, 30 years ago, but in today's world, it's probably going to cause double damage. Now, I know there's some parts of the country where the cops will give preferential treatment to the firefighters, but you know what? Don't expect it to happen. And in a lot of places, that may be the thing that gets you in trouble, because the cop will be the first to say, hey, then you should know better. And then, of course, now, guess what? You may get into more trouble in your department because now you're using your badge, your influence by being a governmental public safety official to try to get you out of trouble. That may cause you actually more problems ethically and within your rules and regulations, because now you're trying to use the department's name to your benefit, and that can be a definitely obvious no-no. So first of all, don't even put yourself in these positions. You look at some other scenarios, fire chief arrested on DUI charge. And I'm not picking on fire chiefs, I'm not picking on captains, I'm not picking on any rank. This stuff happens to people of all ranks, like I said, from all walks of life. And then you wonder why you didn't get promoted. Or you wonder why you don't have a job anymore in some cases. Maybe as a firefighter or a captain where you have union protection, you may get out of it. But as a fire chief, deputy chief, assistant chief in a lot of departments, you aren't protected by the union. And you're not will employee. And like I am as a deputy chief, guess what? Makes it easier for the fire chief or the city manager or the mayor to say, thank you very much. Have a nice day. It sucks. The world we live in, the cancel culture we live in, the positions that we're in, yeah, we're held to a higher standard. And you look at another story, there was one thing that came out of Detroit recently. This is just something that really just is very disturbing. And I know, I'm not saying I'm naive, but you see this came out. I'll just share a little video of some alcohol and apparently alcohol problems.
The local 4 defenders uncovering new information about the drunk driving crash involved an on-duty Detroit firefighter. We're also getting a better idea of the timeline of events following that crash of a Detroit fire engine into a parked car.
Yeah, Detroit Fire Department admits a firefighter was driving drunk on an emergency run this past Sunday. But Detroit police confirmed to local 4 defenders that DFD did not report the incident to them until Wednesday, which happens to be the day the defenders started asking questions about it. Meantime, Sean Lay hearing from sources inside the fire department who say that drinking on the job is far from a rare occurrence.
As this controversy rages on about an on-duty Detroit firefighter driving drunk behind the wheel of a fire engine, now some Detroit firefighters are coming forward to the local 4 defenders with what they know about so-called on-duty drinking. And our local 4 legal analyst says the whole thing could be opening the city up to some big-time legal problems.
It's horrifying. Those rigs are like tanks.
Local 4 legal analyst Neil Rockine reacting to a Detroit firefighter driving drunk on the way to an emergency this past Sunday night. He says the entire crew, of course, has to be ready to save lives, and the driver of the rig has to be absolutely sharp.
Anyone driving one of those trucks, which is like a missile, is compromised.
Now, we all know right from wrong, I would hope. That stuff should have been instilled in us at a younger age. I mean, the video is a couple minutes long. I think you get the gist of it. I'm not going to share the whole video, but I share this for a number of reasons. In a lot of departments, if there's a significant event going on or significant things that have happened on or off duty in a specific fire department, don't be surprised if you, during the promotional process, get asked questions about how to handle these situations, especially during the oral interview, or maybe if you have a role player or personnel counseling scenario. That's pretty obvious that in many departments, when they're setting up their promotional exam processes, they use current events in the fire service as a whole, current events in their own department. And if they have a problem, like a perceived problem, such as drinking on the job, at the firehouse, where do you think the leadership breakdown is? Everyone can point fingers at the fire chief, but the leadership breakdown starts at the firehouse. Nothing personal. It is what it is. Leadership and teamwork starts at the firehouse, not at the top. Nothing personal, fire chiefs. But if stuff like this is happening, where's the breakdown? It's a lack of leadership at the firehouse. And it's not just the company officers. Obviously, they're ultimately responsible. The battalion chiefs are ultimately responsible for their firehouses, but even down to the firefighter rank. We all know right from wrong, and you're either going to participate or say, you know what, hey, time out, this is bullshit, we ain't going to do this. But of course, you don't want to be that guy that raises your hand, because you'll be the snitch. You'll go against the brotherhood, the red line code of the fire department, that, you know, the cops have the blue line, we got the red line. It sucks when you raise your hand to say, this is bullshit, let's stop this, because I don't want to get in trouble, number one, to lose my job. Yeah, nobody wants to be that guy. I get it. But that's, to me, is courage under fire leadership. And that's a whole another subject that I talk about regularly, courage under fire leadership, basically having the balls to be able to raise your hand and be that guy or gal. It sucks because you're going to be the one that nobody wants to talk to because you're the snitch. But you know what? You did the right thing, and doing the right thing in leadership is sometimes the toughest part of leadership. But anyway, back to the situation. Here's some things that came out afterward. Here's a statement from their firefighter association, basically saying, we believe the incident to be isolated and something that is not a true representation of the men and women of the Detroit Fire Department. These men and women are responding to more runs than ever before. Who isn't? We all are. This pandemic has added an increased stress on our first responders, not only on the job, but they're taking new stresses home with them. We all are. Who isn't? Unfortunately, we all deal with these stresses differently. Again, we all do. And I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm not Monday morning quarterbacking anything, but we got to take personal responsibility for ourselves. It is a challenging world that we live in. The pandemic did not make it any easier, but again, we can't make excuses. And, if we truly are brothers and sisters and part of the fire family, as we should be, true brothers and true sisters don't enable people with their problems. Mental health is a big issue. We're all aware of that. And you know what? We can't tolerate stuff like that, because not to mention that someone may kill or injure somebody or lose their job. We're better than that as public servants. Now, here was another news headline that came out right below that. Apparently, during the investigation process, Detroit, and this is just in the last few months, Detroit Fire Department has reported finding 40% of firefighters have witnessed drinking on the job. Those are just those that have raised their hand. So at least 40% of that fire department members that were at least surveyed have witnessed drinking on the job. Doesn't say they participated, but they've witnessed it. And I get, nobody wants to be the guy or gal at the kitchen table, the one of the 10 or the 12 or the 15 that says, hey, you know what, dude, can't you, 10 days a month, you work 10 days a month, you got 20 days off. So 10 days of forced sobriety. Can't you handle 10 days of forced sobriety? Do that shit off duty, 20 days a month, give or take. I get it. Yeah, you're going to be the most popular person at the kitchen table. You're going to be the one that nobody wants to talk to, even though deep down in their hearts, they know right from wrong. We all should. So there's problems going on. Again, I don't have the answers. I'm not making fun of anybody, but this is stuff that's out there. And as somebody that's participating in a promotional examination process, don't be surprised if you get scenarios like this, especially if your department has a problem with this, or maybe if you're a neighboring department or just maybe another department. How would you handle this as an officer? Obviously we see how some of the officers on duty have handled it. They haven't. And that's the challenge. So use these scenarios again to try to learn from them so you don't have the same thing happen. I call these things career and life altering events. There's enough of them happening out there. Don't let them happen to you. So as we finish up here, if you think about it, again, nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes, but remember that fire chiefs don't promote resumes. They promote people. And the best predictor of future behavior is your past behavior. Here you are. If you were that person that was a crap disturber as a firefighter or engineer, and all of a sudden you want to be a company officer or a chief officer, and guess what? Light switch on. I've changed my behavior for the better. I'm no longer like that guy I used to be. Good friggin' luck. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. It's never too late to clean your stuff up and, get your house in order. So to ensure you are credible and respected as a leader, don't just talk the talk, walk the walk. And again, it's not just for your fire chief. Remember, if you have a very tainted, bad past, those new people that you're leading and serving aren't, I mean, firefighters, we don't forget things. We're going to remember that, and we're going to throw that stuff back in your face. Oh, now you're a hypocrite. Oh, you've changed. You're one of them now. I mean, yeah, if you want to hold someone accountable in the future in your new position, you better hopefully have never done the same thing twice or never done the same thing. And if you did do the same thing, you hopefully have been very upfront about, you know what, I screwed up, I made a mistake, and I paid for that mistake. So don't be one of those folks, never too late to change. So as a reminder, my social media footprint, my contact information, please don't hesitate to reach out if I can ever be of assistance in your pursuit of excellence out there. So thank you very much for the gift of your time, everybody. I hope you all have a great day. And you know what? Be safe out there, take care, and don't do anything that's going to put you in one of these videos or one of these scenarios that we're going to discuss in the future. So, all right, take care, everybody.